Hey there, this is Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 10 for the week of July 21st, 2023. My name's Drew Koenig. With me is back again, Mads Sassy. Mads, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good considering my technology's now working. You know, my Wi-Fi was out all day.
Oh, yeah. uh, yeah, that's not good. That ain't great.
Not when
No.
you work from home, no.
No.
I had to go brave the public library and deal with people.
No. No, thank you. No, thank you. I have people enough for the day. So, how's your week been?
It's been busy. Work's kind of really picking up because it's the summer and companies are like, we want to do consulting projects. And for the marketing team, that means a lot of work. So I've been really busy. I get off work and I'm like, I'm going to lay in my bed till next morning.
Yeah.
I don't know how you people in front of people all day, every day,
I
because I
don't.
barely
That's the
function.
question. The answer to that question is I do not. My brain goes, we're going to give as little effort as possible into this. And then at the end of this, you'll be able to dissociate. And I go, I like that plan. It's a good plan, Brian. I like that.
Normally, my schedule typically has like maybe 5 meetings a month, if that, because I'm a content writer. I don't really interact with anybody. I stand in the shadows and they're like, oh, where did these words come from? And this week alone, I had 3 meetings each day. I was like, nope, this is too much.
Nope. No, thank you.
It was too much.
No. My method is A, give as little effort as possible, and B, be downright rude and disrespectful to people whenever they test me.
You might be onto something there.
Should they test me? Yeah. In the next 2 days, I work the growler bar at work, so I'm just going to be on a. If you look here, if you test me today, I'm going to burn you.
Nice.
Because my bar is just the who's who, apparently, of single boomers.
Oh, those are so much fun.
I'm just like, you look at me right here. Stop it.
No.
It's so much
no.
fun. So much fun. It's fucking blast.
Trust me, I get you. Because sometimes the customers I have to deal with, being part of a tech company, are middle-aged men that think they know everything. And so, like, me telling them, no, that's an idea from the 90s that doesn't fly anymore with websites, doesn't go well with them. And I'm just like, too bad. You are paying me money to tell you what to do. You should let me do it. I know what I'm doing. I may look like I'm a female, but I still know what I'm doing. I'm not female, but I may look like I'm a female, and I still know what I'm doing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I work in liquor, so I have my fill of incredibly arrogant men who think they know exactly how to do my job.
Well, then they should do your job then.
They should do my job, yeah. One day I'm gonna snap and be like, "When did you start working here? Was it recently? You got your name tag yet?"
Because name tags is in the back. You should go get that.
You got your orientation yet? If not, fuck you. Shut the fuck up.
Oh man.
People.
This is why television and entertainment industry is very important, so that we can dissociate away from people when the day is over.
On that note, let's pivot to
argument about
yes.
that
Let's pivot to this week's news. You know, it's always fun when you record something, and then the very next day, what you record becomes absolutely irrelevant. So it doesn't matter when you release it. This last episode was late, anyways, but it did not matter when I released that episode because it wasn't gonna matter because it was immediately. We were like, they're probably gonna strike tomorrow. They struck.
Yep.
They struck. So For people that aren't aware, last week we discussed the impending SAG-AFTRA strike joining the WGA. And we're like, yeah, it's probably going to happen. Yeah, it happened. So SAG is now currently on strike. And Hollywood is essentially at a standstill. For all intents and purposes, the Hollywood that we know and consume on a daily basis is basically non-existent at the moment.
And I want to say, because I get into this argument with at least one person a day, the people that are striking are part of the 87% of SAG-AFTRA who do not qualify for health insurance, making $26,000 a year. Like, try to tell me that that's a logical wage for someone to live off of. Like, it's not those millionaire A-listers. Those guys are standing in solidarity. It's the guys that are in the scenes behind them or in movies that are lesser known. Like, it's those smaller roles and those people that work as actors and get very little credit.
Yes. We talked about this recently, or we talked about before, but what SAG-AFTRA is striking for is very similar to what the WGA is striking for, which is a better residuals, a larger slice of the proverbial pie, and a written guarantee that they won't be replaced with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, reading that stipulation in the contract and how AMPTP, I always get the letters mixed up, they countered with, well, we think it's totally fine to pay you for half a day's work, scan your image, and then use that in perpetuity. And I'm like, we're not a Black Mirror episode. Like, literally, Black Mirror just did an episode about this concept, and it's like, that's creepy.
So that is what they're currently striking for, and this could go on for if what has the last week is any indication this could go on for quite a while. The next year to year and a half is going to look weird as hell.
It's going to definitely be bigger than the writer's strike of, what was it, 2007? 2007. Yeah. It's going to be way different. I think it's going to go a little bit longer because the AMPTP is not backing down. They're not even listening to them. They're not changing things. They're actually making it harder for them to picket because they don't want them doing this. And obviously the actors and writers themselves don't want to do it either, but they want someone to listen and to hear them out. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So what this leaves us with right now for things that can still come out while the strike is going on are unscripted stuff, so reality television or documentary series, things that don't strictly require a writer or actors. So you're gonna get a lot of dating shows, a lot of reality shows, you're gonna get a lot of true crime shows, more so than we've already gotten, which has been a lot. You're gonna see animation because they're under different guilds and unions. So you'll probably see, honestly, just because of how long animation takes to, animate, you won't see any of that for like 2 years. So it won't make much of a difference to us. And also you're going to see a lot of foreign stuff. So, for example, House of the Dragon Season 2 is still able to film right now because while British actors are part of SAG, they are also part of their own union, which has its own set of rules. So you'll still see a lot of British stuff. You'll still see European, Asian shows because they won't be beholden to SAG and the WGA.
I don't believe Heartstopper's under these strike rules either, because the writer of Heartstopper made a post recently where she was like, I'm working on season 3. So I'm like, oh, you must be part of the British Union too and have different rules that apply against what, American rules are. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah. But I think under these rules, you still won't see like Canadian series. So like shows that film in Vancouver, I think still aren't going to be able to come out or film at all. There have been certain things that have been like given waivers right now by SAG. So independent films.
I've seen a couple indies get waivers from SAG.
Yeah, so like an A24 film notably got a SAG waiver to continue, which had big names in it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of bring the question and kind of want to answer it here of like what I'm planning to do on this podcast, which is for the moment just continue on. Because and I was thinking really carefully about this like the last few days of like how I want to approach this. And I think it's this is that I view this podcast as a piece of critical work, you know? Like this is criticism, which by virtue journalism, and I think that has to continue. You know, like I said, the next year to year and a half is going to be a descent into hell. And I think there's value in documenting that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of talk the last like week of like, what is criticism not? And it's like, criticism to me is not promotion because like reviewing things and being critical of, you know, shows and movies is as much talking about like the things you like as much as the things you don't like, you know? Yeah. It's as much saying like this is great as this sucks, you know?
And continuing to watch movies and television shows is going to help the strike because it's going to show them they're on the right side. AMPTP needs to listen up and change how they're dealing with streaming services and residuals with that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. At a certain point, the things are going to dry up, so this will become kind of a moot point, anyways.
We'll be doing throwback type.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. We had a long conversation about it, you know, because I write for Telltale TV, and you know, we had a conversation. One thing we're not going to be doing anymore for our website is doing interviews with cast or writers, but we will continue reviewing. We'll continue making lists about shows you should be watching, things like that, reporting on the strike and things that happen. So I think we are an important part of the strike because we are showing that people want what is being presented on television. People want to see it, people want to talk about it, and that's very important to what they're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, what I was saying before my wall decided to attack me. By like September or October, we're not going to have shows to talk about, really. Or we'll have a lot less shows to talk about. Well, and like on a programming side, like it will require some creativity on my part of like, just longevity of a podcast. But I was thinking about like what you were saying a minute ago about like doing throwbacks and like watching old stuff along with like new stuff, and it's like I think I made this joke last week or like the week before of like, I'm not afraid to still watch competitive marble racing again. I did that. I'll do it again.
I mean, also we're going to see, I was reading an article about this, about how some like shows that were strictly streaming are going to be put on primetime television because the networks are like, we need content. Oh, look, this is part of our technical contracts. We can take it off streaming and put it on TV.
Yeah. Like Disney announced that they're going to start airing Miss Marvel on ABC.
On ABC, yeah, because ABC and Disney are like that.
Yeah.
They're married to each other, let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's going to be those workshops. It's going to be weird. Like, it's just, when I say it's going to be a descent into hell as someone who was watching TV in 2007, it's going to be real fucking weird. You know?
Yeah, if you thought 2007 was bad, like, this is going to be so much worse.
This is going to make Hero Season 2 look like a fucking cakewalk.
You know what's funny? I went to Connecticut to hang out with some friends last weekend, and we actually discussed ad nauseum the descent of Hero's quality. We talked about how bad it got and why, and some of the behind the scenes drama that I had no idea about. Like, it was a fun time.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be wild.
We will not be revisiting Heroes. We will not revisit.
We will not be revisiting Heroes.
Nobody wants that.
No. Yeah. I think the main thing here is that like there isn't going to be an easy fix for the strike. And there's an entire possibility that the end of this is not a favorable one for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're kind of looking at this optimistically as this is going to be like the canary in the coal mine that kind of like fixes the industry, but it's very possible that this is the like final blow. Like this is the thing that like sends it into rubble, that you have to like rebuild off of.
The problem is that so many people that are, currently like talking about the strike and are very involved with what's going on with the strike grew up with movies like The Hunger Games and
Right.
things like that. Little people won against the big people, and we're like, this will work in real life, and we're like, no, it won't.
No.
They have more money, and like they said, they don't care if you go homeless.
No, they don't.
But that's okay, because Ron Perlman will come find your house.
He will burn your house to the ground.
Burn your house to the ground.
He will burn your house to the ground. Yeah, I mean, like, Universal doesn't care if you get heat stroke. Like,
they cut the damn trees. They don't care.
They cut the trees. They don't care. Yeah.
They don't care if you get injured while you're picketing. They created construction situations. Like, they don't care.
They don't care. Yeah. Yeah. The problem right now is that there's not like a hero that's arisen to like fix this. The studios have decided they don't fucking care. As we've said, they don't give a shit. And like the normal people like the WGA or the SAG have like kind of risen to talk about it, but like there's no like call for negotiations right
now. Right, and like as exciting as Fran Drescher's speech was, she's still Fran Drescher. Like, no offense. Like, I have very mixed feelings about her. And she's still one of those people that is slightly above the people that are really affected by the strike.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, she's fighting, but what we really need is, what was Sally Field's character in that movie? We need someone like her to like stand up and be like, I'm gonna create this union, I'm gonna fight this union, we're gonna do this.
Right.
I forget the character's name. I just remember the movie.
Right.
Sally Field, where are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's not going to be a clean way forward, and this is going to be a very long and torturous road to get to wherever it is we're going. So we'll keep you all updated on this, as I'm sure you all will already be updated.
Yes. Norma. Her name was Norma. Sorry. I have that problem where like a thing comes to me like 10 minutes later. So sorry, guys. Anyways, moving on.
So let's continue on into the GOAT. Yeah, so last week I nominated Raven Reyes from The 100, and you nominated Reva from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, there was there was an obvious winner.
Yeah, there was an obvious winner. Well, I say there was an obvious winner, but like that would have implied that like people had a reaction to the poll whatsoever, and they didn't, which surprised me to my core.
I even reposted it in my stories. I'm surprised nobody like.
Yeah, like there were a few votes, but like it was definitely like the least active one I've had in a while, which was amazing to me. I don't.
We can't all be winners, Drew.
I must have gotten shadow banned or something because it was weird.
Yeah,
it was actually.
What'd you do?
You
said the wrong word. That's what happened.
Actually, I actually didn't put any captions on it, so they probably shadow banned me for that. Oh. They probably shadow banned the post for that. Now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, Raven won last week. My reign of tyranny continues. So
I'm determined now to tear you down.
Somebody should. This much just feeds my God complex. So, for my pick this week, I was thinking about the return of Justified to our TV screens, which led to just one obvious pick here, which is Boyd Crowder, played by Walton Goggins, who is kind of like the prototypical like classic TV character of this guy was only supposed to be around for like 2 episodes and everyone loved him, which kind of really like shows the importance of writing. Like as we're talking about like the WGA, like the importance of like good writing and good performance, because like the current like streaming model of we're gonna write all of this in one go and just like release it in a batch does not produce like these kinds of results where like you just get like a lightning in a bottle. You don't get like a Boyd Crowder or a you know a Benjamin Linus from Lost. Like you just you don't get like this guy who's just like so fucking good that you have to keep him around. Someone who is so captivating and charismatic. And Boyd Crowder is just like he is a scoundrel of the highest order. He's a little hillbilly criminal who could, you know. I always remember the thing that Elmore Leonard, who wrote the story that Justified is based off of, saying that something to the effect of, "I don't believe a word that Boyd ever says, but it sounds very good to hear it."
I know very little about Justified, so I'm just nodding and saying, yeah, sure. I trust you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, Boyd is just a great character, and his kind of like there's there's a fun like almost homoeroticism between like him and Raylan Givens throughout the show of what the cop and robber dynamic, the heat dynamic. Uh, you want to catch me, and I want you to catch me. It's Batman and Joker. Like it's it's just the tried and true thing of like a push and pull that is just so delightful. And Walton Goggins just has like such a way with like dialogue and words throughout the entire show. Yeah, it's just stellar. Like it's someone who understands the character perfectly and like executes it so well throughout the entire show. And then just like the final interaction between Boyd and Raylan of like we dug coal together. Like it's just perfect. Which I'm gonna talk about later because it's such like a perfect ending for a show that makes me so uneasy. Anything new. But yeah, that's my pick for Boyd Crowder.
Well, since you decided to go in the route of characters that were originally not supposed to be around for very long, I'm going to go with my absolute favorite character from television of all time, Patrick Brewer from Schitt's Creek. He was actually originally only supposed to be a short little fling for David, and he was supposed to mosey on out of town. And fans loved him so much by the end of season 3 when they first kissed that the writers were like, okay, we need to make this more than just a short little thing. And by the end of the series, he is married to David and they are living their happy lives together. And I think that's also a testament to Noah Reed's boy next door charm that just makes people feel they are comfortable around him. They can, tell their secrets to him and he's not going to tell them to anybody else. He's just got that charisma about him that really draws people in and makes them feel comfortable and makes them feel seen and valued and heard. And a lot of people can see themselves in him as well because they decided to go the route of him being an older person. And by older, we mean like early 30s and just realizing he's gay, and that's something that doesn't get seen on television very often, and so it really sets the tone for the rest of the show. And he's just such a wonderful character, and he's so loving, and he is the calm to David's chaos. He is the exact calm that David needs, and so like he's the reason I want to pick Patrick Brewer this week.
Nice. So the poll for this goat will be up on Twitter and TikTok, and you'll have 2 days to vote for it once it goes up. And as always, be sure to check our TikTok page for clips of the podcast that I'm uploading throughout the week, and also on Twitter and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts.
Well, you're just everywhere.
I'm everywhere. I'm doing all kinds of things here. Yeah, and always be sure to send in any pics you all have to not another TV podcast at gmail.com, along with any show recommendations you all have. So without further ado, let's jump into the show.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. Now your hope and compassion is gone.
So our first show for this week is the Horror of Dolores Roach. The entire first season is streaming on Amazon Prime Video. So I only got around to watching the first episode and a little bit of the second. So Mads, tell me what you thought of this.
So let me just preface this by saying Sweeney Todd is one of my absolute favorite musicals of all time. And so when I heard that this show was going to follow the same sort of storyline, same sort of thematic elements, I was just like, oh, I am here. I'm sat. I will watch this whole thing. And I did. I watched it in one day because I couldn't stop watching because I was like, what crazy shenanigans are going to happen next? Because like it's so much more insane than Sweeney Todd. If I don't know if you know the premise of Sweeney Todd or like the details of Sweeney Todd, but basically the barber ends up killing people that are seem very very pertinent to the story, and a lot of the killing that happens on Dolores Roach is accidental, and so it makes it even funnier because she's just like, oh shit, I did not mean to kill this person. And oh, I can't remember his name, but the guy that runs the empanada store, is it Lewis? Is that his name?
I
That
think
sounds
so.
wrong. That sounds wrong. Maybe it's right. I don't know. But he then looks at her and he's just like, I won't ask you why you did it, how you did it. I'll just take the meat and cook it. And like at by the end, he ends up being this person that's like, yo, we've got a good business going here. And she's just like, it was accidental every damn time. She goes, except the last couple times where she was like, oh, someone founded parts of the dead body, and she's like, oh shit, I can't let him like tell other people, so she killed him to keep him quiet. But for the most part it was totally, accidental. And the actress that plays Dolores is one of my favorites. I adore her, and she just embodies that character so well. It's just chef's kiss. Great job. I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. I already have it marked to watch again because like it's just so funny, and I know that I missed things because it's so much happening at once. So,
Right.
yeah. Modern day Sweeney without the music.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I also enjoyed it. First episode. Enjoy the way that it starts off as, at least in this first episode, a commentary and criticism of like post 9/11 and then gentrification that like erupted out of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, just Justina Machado is very good in the show. Um, It's like a much more like raw and wiry performance than the one she was giving on like One Day at a Time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Didn't like inhabit a whole lot of like brain space for me though. So at least
That's valid.
as I was like watched it like earlier in the week and then like kind of drifted away from it and then like draw me back in. I'm being like, hey, you should be watching this. I'm like, it was good, but
To be fair, to someone that's not obsessed with Sweeney Todd, it
right,
would probably take a couple episodes to really like get to it, to the meat of it, because yes, the first episode is great and whatever. The chaos really doesn't start until like the end of the second, beginning of the third episode, because that's when it's like, oh shit, bodies are piling up. Like, oh dear, we have to figure out how to get rid of these people. And then like, an investigator comes along, a private investigator, and they're like, oh crap, how do we get her like to go away? It's things like that that you're just like, the chaos of it all, it's like, this is a genius idea, you just didn't fully think it through on like how to get rid of things like pacemakers or pretend boobs that can be traced by a serial number. Like, they didn't think that stuff through, and it's just like, oh right, these identifying factors of these people.
mm-hmm.
uh I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was a fun time, and the more. And the great thing about it is it felt like they set it up to where they could expand it even further into another season by how it ended, because it was very open-ended. There was still some unanswered questions, but not to the point of, oh my god, they left too much unanswered.
Right.
So that if they don't get another season, I'm like, oh, I'm fine, whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself.
Oh, cool. We'll probably check back in on that at a certain point.
Yeah, finish watching it, bro.
Yeah. So our next show is Justified City Primeval, Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2, entitled City Primeval and the Oklahoma Wildmen.
I had to drag myself through this. I'm sorry.
I watched the first episode when I was at ATX last month. So they screened the first episode for us. I found it extremely enjoyable. A big fan of Justified. Partly, it just doesn't have a whole lot to do with it, but partly because I am from Kentucky. And so, like, the marshal's office in Justified is set in my hometown. But it's always kind of like a funhouse mirror kind of Kentucky of like, yes, okay.
Yes, that's Kentucky.
Okay, sure. Like, there's this isn't relevant, but like, there's a scene in the first episode of Justified where Walton Goggins is sitting in the car and he's calling someone else after he kills someone. He's like, I'm on yada yada road, and I was like, I know that road explicitly. No, you're fucking not.
Well, it's kind of like every time I'd watch Supernatural. I grew up in Kansas, and I'm like, nope, that is not Kansas. Good try, but we don't have woods that deep in Kansas.
Right? Yeah.
We are flat and boring.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see that kind of stuff on TV shows, or like Law and Order. Once I became super familiar with New York City, I was like, that's a subway stop to nowhere, because that's not a real subway stop.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and once you know that like Justified was filmed in like West Virginia and not Kentucky, you're like, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, you just wanted a motif of a coal town and not an actual coal town. Got it. Got it.
Or maybe your town was just like, no, you can't film here.
That's also possible. Like, there aren't great tax credits in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So that all aside, I'm a big fan of Justified, and I was pretty excited for this to come back just because Raylan Givens and Timothy Oliphant are great, like, character actor duo. Like, it's just almost perfect, to the extent that Timothy Oliphant has been getting typecast as, lawman, and this goes back to like Deadwood, but
right.
But yeah, I was pretty excited for this comeback, even as I said, the final moments of like Justified are so perfect. Of Boyd Crowder saying like, we dug coal together, like that's just a perfect like capper. And then to come back to this, especially to come back to this in a time where everyone is a lot more sensitive to like watching propaganda, and I'm very sensitive to watching stuff like that, to the extent that like I don't think I watch any cop shows anymore. So like this is like the sole one that I would want to come back to. And I think it's fairly adept at like recognizing that, and also like trying to navigate that and upend it in certain ways. So like you have a lot more black characters being brought in than the original Justified had. There's a lot more of an emphasis. I feel like I didn't go back to watch the first episode from when I watched it back in ATX, but there feels like a bigger emphasis on like Raylan as a cop or like as a U.S. Marshal who does things that are like, because the whole point of Justified is for him to be like a cowboy. Like, Justified is always like the modern Western,
the ends justify the means.
Yeah, and always like, because Raylan's always like, I can just shoot this guy, it's fine. Like that's his character arc. so to take that and then now being like acknowledging the propaganda of it all and the way that what Raylan does is kind of squishy.
Yeah, it was very interesting the first episode to have like that whole case thrown out because of his actions. They were like, you didn't follow the rules.
Yeah, you
And
very
they're like,
strongly did not follow the rules.
right. I don't know the original Justified series, but I had to push myself through it because again, I'm not super big on westerny type shows, and that's just my own personal preference, but I was like, I'm going to give it a shot because I love Timothy Olyphant. He's been phenomenal in multiple things. And I did enjoy the like kind of side story of him and his daughter, them trying to like reconnect in a way. And I was like, I like those warm your heart kind of things.
Right.
My roommate makes fun of me all the time. She's like, why do you watch all this mushy gushy crap? And I'm like, because I like it, okay? Because I don't get it in my real life, okay?
Yeah.
But it was a nice side story. And to find out that I think his actual daughter plays his daughter,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's cool.
Yeah.
But great acting, great actors. The guy that played the judge, I'm like, I know that guy. I've seen him in a million things.
Right, yeah.
The guy that plays the bartender, what's his name?
Oh.
Steve? No, that's not right. It's something with S, I feel.
Sweetie.
But there we go, Sweetie. I've seen him in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Too. So it's like it was nice to see faces I recognize for a franchise I know nothing about.
Yeah. Yeah, and Boyd Holbrook is also in this, and he's quite good. Although I feel like I have complicated feelings about Boyd Holbrook because he's both doing a very Boyd Holbrook performance, but also he's doing an almost like darkest timeline Raylan Givens, and also giving like a Boyd Crowder kind of thing. It's like he's doing all of those things at once, and I'm not sure they all mix perfectly.
I personally find him very boring.
Yeah. Like, he's a sociopath, and, like, it's fine.
We've been there.
It's fine.
His girlfriend, though, I find her very interesting. So, like, it's interesting to see his scenes because we get to see her, too. So it's like, okay, I kind of like this character. I'm curious to see how far they take this, if she's going to quote unquote survive for very long. Because we've already got dead bodies.
Right, yeah.
This is the week of dead bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see this going forward. I'm kind of interested in, like, taking Raylan Givens, like, out of Kentucky and bringing him to Detroit. And, like, I think that's just, like, an interesting, like, fish out of water dynamic of, like, Raylan's still, like, on his game. Like, he still knows what's up.
Yeah.
Like, he's so good at what he does, regardless of, like, environment.
And I'm also fascinated, you say, like, the propaganda stuff is, like, kind of dealt with in a good way. I find it interesting that this lawyer that, like, got his testimony, his stuff thrown out, she's not on the side of the law either. And it's like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
She's got her own hands in the pot in her own way. So that's interesting. But yeah, it was still a bit slow for me just because I personally am not super into these shows. But I did try. I watched it. Yay me.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job.
Pat on the back.
So our next show here is What We Do in the Shadows, which came back for its 5th season on FX and FX on Hulu. FX on Hulu is so a dumb name for anything. So dumb. I don't know what that means.
Just let it be Hulu. Like,
it's
you really need the
it's
FX
FX or it's
moniker?
Hulu. Like, which one is it?
Right.
Tell me which one it is.
It's like,
we know it's on FX. It aired on FX. Is it on FX or is it on? I'm not doing this. No.
No, just let it. When it airs on Hulu, all these other shows don't have Hulu added on because they're from ABC or NBC. Just let it be FX.
I don't care about your dumb business deal. Don't care about dumb business deal you all made about this. It's fucking stupid. Whatever.
It's so dumb.
So the first 3 episodes to come out, titled The Mall, The Night Out with the Guys, and Pride Parade.
This show is just always chaotic. Let me
Always
just say
chaotic.
that. It's always chaotic. I missed half of last season because I kind of just got tired for a bit, but I was like, you know what? Let's see if season 5 like makes things a little better. And like I went into it and I'm like, oh, I have missed this.
Yeah. So this is such a weird fucking show. So season 5 picks up with Guillermo having tried to be turned into a vampire last season
By Derek. Hey, vampire who's afraid of blood. Like that's the funniest thing ever.
It's good shit. And his transition, let's say, did not go well. It's not gone according to plan, and shenanigans ensue.
And Laszlo is, as always, on top of everything going on with Gizmo.
So good.
Like, that's the main focus of the first episode, is that Laszlo's like, I know he's hiding something. I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to figure it out.
And he's like, and they go to the mall, and he's like following him around at the mall. And I'm like, what, bro? He's literally doing normal things at a mall.
No, I love when Laszlo is unexpectedly smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, without warning, is now smart. Because, like, 95% of the time, he's an idiot who says, like, pronounces Kim Cattrall in a way that no one has ever pronounced that name before.
Oh, right, because he like that's which. Oh, right, because he took a quiz thinking that it was a test of something, and they're like, no, that was a which Sex in the City character are you? And you're like, Laszlo, you're an idiot. And then he turns around and he's actually smart about what's going on with Guillermo, and it's like, fuck. You have your moments. Okay. That's why I love him so much. Like, I think Laszlo is probably my favorite of the old vampires.
Yeah.
I like Nandor okay. He just gets very boring and kind of, I don't know. There's just nothing special to me about him.
Nandor gets very stuck in like his shtick.
Yeah, and that gets annoying.
Yeah, because like this is the like an adaptation from like the film. He's very much of the like Taika Waititi cloth of like the kind of like broadly handsome dummy.
Yes.
Like broad in a way that is like very rarely like aware of anything at all. Like
the episode where him and Laszlo are arrested. Was that the second one?
Yeah, second episode.
Yes. And Laszlo's like, yes, Laszlo's like, there's a perfect example of Laszlo trying to create this illusion that he's smart and knows what he's doing, and he actually knows nothing. He's like, yes, I'm the best at like convincing people and all this stuff, and then they get to the prison cell, and Nandor's like, well, then compel them, and he's like, I actually can't do it.
I can't do that. I'm not good at it.
Why don't you do it? You're the best at it. And so they come rolling up in a whole police battalion. I'm like, I can't. This is hilarious.
Yeah. And then Pride Parade is one of the weirdest episodes they've ever done. Mm-hmm. It's just from top to bottom fucking weird. Like, there's a part of me that wants to gripe about the fact that Nandor should be dead. He should have died when he went to outer space and when he came back down from outer space. But this isn't that show. And intellectually, I know that this isn't that show. But still, from like the show's own fucking rules, he should be dead. But if we're going to start haranguing on what we do in the shadows and consistent world building, we're going to be here for a long time, boys and girls.
Because I feel like they make up new rules each season.
Yeah.
So like, this doesn't work for this story anymore. We're gonna ignore that it existed in the past.
Yeah, like if we're gonna go down that road, then we have to go down like Laszlo covered himself in Guillermo's sweat to go outside into the sun. Like, sometimes you just got to take things as they are.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's one of those shows that, like, I have a couple shows in my roster of television shows that I watch on a regular basis that I'm like, you cannot figure out timeline, you cannot figure out rules and regulations because everything is made up and the rules don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, what we do in the shadows feels like what I used to talk about with like Legends of Tomorrow and kind of Riverdale. Shows where people were in a writer's room and they went, we could do that. And the other people just went, why the fuck not?
Why not?
Why not? It's this genre of just like, why not? That I personally find very endearing and enjoyable. I'm just like, it feels like somebody had like a dartboard with like plot ideas on it and they just went, got it.
Honestly, I think that's why I'm still able to watch this show 5 seasons in, because I'm like, it does, with the exception of a little bit of season 4, it doesn't really get tired or feel like it's losing its luster. Like, this show can keep going because they keep making up new rules each season.
Right.
Like, I mean, last season, freaking Colin was a baby. Like, I mean,
yeah.
What gets more wacky than that?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's an adult again. Like, it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
rules don't matter. And the whole Nadja stuff this season with her history and her trying to become a better person, it's hilarious because, like, she's like, I'm going to be a better person, and then turns around and ignores what's her face. And it's just so funny because you're just like, yes, you're definitely becoming a better person.
Yeah.
Yes, you're working really hard at that.
Mm-hmm.
She's a chaotic girl who does not give a crap about how anyone sees her, and I love that about her.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
I do my own thing that sometimes involves my husband Laszlo. When she remembers that they're married or that they're in a relationship together.
Yeah. Her speed dating is very funny. It's very funny.
Also, her like getting mad at Colin because there had been a little whatever country that is that she's from in in the town the whole time, and she's like, "Why did you tell me?" And he's like, "I thought you knew." It's like these people never talk to each other. They live together and they never truly actually talk to each other.
Mm.
Especially not with Colin. They don't like Colin Robinson, so it's fine.
No.
Oh, do you think Guillermo is going to ever become a full vampire?
No. It's not because I don't think the show would do that. It's because that is a thing that a normal show would do.
Yes.
And what we do in the shadows is not a normal show.
I think what's affecting him is the fact that he's descended from vampire hunters. Like, I think that's what's really affecting him. Yes, partially also that he got Derek to do it instead of Nandor, but I also think it's mostly because you are part vampire hunter, sir. You cannot become the thing you hunt. No matter how much you want to.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's the road the show is going to take because, like, that's the most chaotic answer to what's going on. And they go with chaos.
They do go chaos. Chaos is always the answer. When
Yes.
in doubt, chaos.
Yes. Indeed.
Indeed.
I.
Next show.
Are you okay over there, Drew? You're having some major issues.
Our next show is My Adventures with Superman, which is currently streaming on Max. Place to find HBO, which is a definitely real title for a show. And it's entitled Adventures of a Normal Man, Part 1 and 2, and My Interview with Superman. So what did you think of this?
So I'm always going to be critical of Superman shows because Superman was my first favorite hero growing up. I mean, who doesn't love a superhero that comes from Kansas? Like, if you live in Kansas and grow up in Kansas, you're like, oh, Like, no one comes from Kansas, okay? Especially not superheroes. So, like, it's a big deal. So, I went into this being like open minded, but also critical because I was like, I have my thoughts about Superman. And it was okay. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It's okay. It's a fun little time. I could definitely zone out and do work while it was on in the background and still feel like I didn't miss anything. And I also feel like at this point in time, Superman has been done so much that like there's only so much content, there's only so much story that you can do, and they just keep rehashing the same stuff, in my opinion. So it's okay, it's not terrible. I think I need a few more episodes to be like, yeah, I like this, or no, I don't.
Right, right. I think it's fun in the sense that like somebody just said, "What if we did Superman but like anime, like slice of life anime?" Which I think is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And just like its kind of take on like Superman lore and like other canon characters, like like Livewire being just like a kind of broody mercenary. Like that's funny, that's fun. Or Deathstroke just being like kind of agent, like true agent of chaos, or
Yes.
Silver Banshee just being like rebellion, like a rebellious shit, like rebellious for the sake of rebellion. Like, this is fine. Or like James Olsen believing in Jimmy Olsen believing in like UFOs and like everything.
I always like looking at Jimmy Olsen as like my indicator of, okay, what direction is this show gonna go? Because there's so many different ways that you can take Jimmy Olsen, and I do like the way this show does it. I like that he is this, for lack of a better term, kid, because he's not that old. He's this kid that's very energetic and excited about life, and he's like, he loves Superman, and he also believes in aliens, and so it's like he believes what's really going on. It's not a Some Jimmies have been unaware of other things out there, like,
Right.
so to speak. So, like, having this Jimmy be like, oh, yes, I believe in all this stuff. I think it's real. This is a real thing. Those people are lying. They're making up a story. Like, it's a really interesting way to do him, especially since he's, a journalist. So, like, it's going to probably be a fun take for the rest of the season. But yeah, I like Jimmy in this show.
Yeah. I think this is a really great Lois Lane. Like intrepid, slightly arrogant, like unapologetically horny for Clark Kent, Lois Lane. Like it's
One of my favorite scenes, I will say, is she's talking to Clark about wanting to interview Superman. And she's like, this is how I should approach him. Do you think he's going to say yes? And he goes, no, nope, nope. He would not say yes. And she goes, what? And he goes, well, I imagine. And like, he gets all flustered and all this stuff. It's just like, it's a cute scene because I do like Clark because he's such a nerdy, insecure guy. And then he puts on that suit and it's like, Clark who? I'm Superman. Like it's a great juxtaposition, and I'm very critical of all shows that are Superman because especially if they're live action, because I'm like the actor has to be able to encompass both types of personality. And so like seeing this animation doing it so well, it's just like, all right, I can enjoy this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not again, I feel like I'm always like, I'm not into this. I'm not into this. I just don't watch a lot of animation, and that's just on me.
Right.
So I can't be like, oh, this is great animation or whatever compared to something else because I'm like, I don't really know.
Right.
So you were like, this kind of animation. I'm like, okay, sure. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But yes,
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Lois Lane. So like to have this Lois Lane be somewhat enjoyable to me is a win. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do really like the runner of like Clark just accidentally breaks everything he touches.
So relatable.
It just like wakes up in the morning and accidentally like he's broken like 10 alarm clocks.
Listen, You try having superhuman strength and being just woke up and you have to be
Just
like, I gotta tone this in. Like, I get that, bro. I
Yeah.
don't have super strength, but like that would be me. Like, I
Yeah.
would wake up and be like, put my hand down and destroy my cell phone or the desk that my computer sits on. Like, would happen.
Yeah. No,
Don't know your own strength.
it's a good joke. It's a really good joke that I haven't seen like recreated in a lot of like Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Of like,
I also like ones where he like goes to hug someone and he does it too hard. That's always fun to see. It doesn't happen very often, but it's like, huh, you're so excited you forgot that you're superhuman.
yeah, no.
Ugh, man.
No. So let's continue on to our next show, which is Nancy Drew season 4, episode 8, entitled "The Crooked Banister." You did not watch this one.
No, but I vaguely know what happens.
Okay.
Because I just read a short little recap. Stupid Wi-Fi prevented me from watching. I tried to watch it a couple days ago, and the CW app was being stupid, and it kept saying, "Ooh, error playing," like partway through the episode, and I go back in, try to watch it, and it'd start it back over again. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing this crap. The CW app is so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's really
I need
bad
to
app.
just start watching CW shows live. Like, I just need to, because I just don't like their app. Their app interface is terrible.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. This is a really fun episode. Which is essentially a body swap episode. Where everyone switches places for the day. And also, like, okay, I tweeted this a couple weeks ago when I was watching the episode, but okay, granted, I have an extremely shaky understanding of time as it is, but I patently don't believe that only a year has passed canonically.
It's only been a year
in this show. Yeah. I don't believe it.
No.
There's no way.
We are on season, what is it, 4? There's no flipping way that each season was like a literal season of the year. Like, no, that is impossible.
I feel like they're trying to gaslight me. Like,
so that's right. So like I had looked up the info about the episode prior to it airing because I put it in my what to watch for the week, and I was like, it hasn't been only a year. That's incorrect. Like, what? And I was like, okay, I guess so. Whatever. Well, guess the time doesn't matter anymore.
Well, like, I feel like it's even worse because, like, the show started, like, after Nancy's mom died. So, like, this is a year after Nancy's mom died. And the show started after she was already dead. Yeah. So, like, it's even less. It's less than a year.
So I thought, honestly, when the show started and the way she talked about it and how she wasn't super grieving, that it had happened at some point at least a year prior, because I was like, you're too okay about this right now. Like, I lost a parent and I was a hot mess for a long time. Like, I'm like, I understand.
Yeah. And like,
time doesn't make sense. Are we on Doctor Who?
To believe that her dad dated 2 people within a year after her mom died? What?
No.
No.
And they were so madly in love? No. Listen, maybe all those things that they did with the supernatural like fucked up the timeline.
There's just no way. Like, I just can't accept this as reality. But
or maybe
whatever.
They want to think it was the reality and it's actually not been a year and this was just an episode of like alternate universe situation, because they did body swap, so I mean anything's possible.
Yeah, I just no thank you.
Store that under things about Nancy Drew that will never make sense.
Yeah, but aside from that, I think the actors are giving very fun performances. The actress who plays Bess gets to pull out her American accent again.
God, I love Bess.
And Kennedy McMahon gets to do a very good Ace impersonation.
Honestly, I am a huge fan of body swap episodes if they're done properly. And this show was like, oh no, we're going to body swap everybody. And I'm just like, we're cool with that.
Yeah. it's a
I'm
lot of
sure
fun.
it was fun. I'm sure it was
Yeah.
fun to watch,
Mhm.
considering I haven't been able to watch it yet. But yeah, like body swap's always a good time.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's a fun scene. Like it kind of goes to like how like subtly smart the show is. There's a scene where Nancy and Ace go to see Ace's dad, who is deaf and uses sign language, and Ace and Nancy's body has to pretend that he's Nancy, who knows very little sign language, and does like very like rudimentary sign language at him, which I thought was just like a very
Oh.
smart touch. Like it's a good move. To just like, because like I think it's easy to like mischaracterize Ace as like, you know, the handsome himbo, which like
Mhm.
he could easily be,
But
but
we
he's like
forget that
he's a
he's
sharp dude.
basically their hacker. He's like,
Yeah,
he's smart. He knows how to do shit. Like, dude can get anywhere. And he caught it and let it go. So,
yeah,
like, dude's smart.
yeah.
That little detail in last 2 weeks ago, whatever episode it was just hilarious. He was petty, mad at Nancy, so he let the ferret go. Ugh. All of these characters are just so dynamic. I can only imagine like how much fun it was to see them in each other's bodies. That sounds really weird.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and there's a thing. This is like kind of my only gripe of the episode, because there's a thing where oh, what's his name? Hang on.
One of the dads.
No, it's hang on. There's a thing where Nick is running for a city council seat, and
Nickerson.
Nickerson, yes, and Bess is in his body, and he gets
Oh, fun.
and Bess gets a question from one of the you know, truth and history weirdo, like the Mobs for Liberty stand-in for the season. And then Nick is in his own body, has a talk with that same Moms for Liberty person, and it's just very like a very like textual. I'm against like, you know, you telling me what books are allowed or what we're allowed to do. We got what the point was, you know. You didn't need to tell us what the parallel was. We got the parallel already, you know.
We got it.
That was a little bit too much.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to tell so much because we got it from you showing.
Yeah,
like,
we understood. We understood the point.
Yeah.
So like that felt a little bit like underestimating the audience and needing to be so blunt about what the point of the, you know, truth and history weirdos are. But like, we understand exactly who these people are. I swear to God.
We encounter them daily.
I promise you, we know what these people are about.
Half of my family are those people.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my only real gripe to the episode. Let's move on to our next episode here, which is Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 6, entitled Lost in Translation.
Yes.
And this feels like Star Trek. This feels like Strange New World, just like back on the day game, because there's kind of a dip for a couple episodes, but this feels just like full steam ahead.
Yeah, I really loved it. I loved the mystery behind what was going on. I love the working together to figure it out. The insecurity between characters on, is Ahura being truthful or is she making stuff up? Like, it was very good writing, and it very much was like, this is Star Trek. This is they're known for. And it really just adds to what we know about Ahura. And like, I love that. I always love getting more backstory through a situation that they're going through.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I cried too when she was watching Hammer. I miss that dude so much. And the rivalry between Sam and Jim is just hilarious.
It's so good.
I love it so much. And then Spock comes in and he's like, yeah, he's annoying. I'm like, Spock, I love you.
Spock stays petty.
love that he not only comes in and says, yeah, he's annoying, like grabs the cup that Sam left behind that was empty and is like, here, put this away. This is dirty trash. Like, it's wonderful. It's just a fun time. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and like you said, this is the return of Kirk onto the show. Yeah, I think it's really fascinating the way that Strange New Worlds is utilizing James T. Kirk as a character. Because it's almost like crossover element.
Yeah.
Like the way that they use Kirk is almost like
he's not always around.
Yeah, the way that like
comes in occasionally.
It's like the way that like Felicity Smoke would be used on The Flash. Like, here's this character for like an episode. Have fun with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm very intrigued by like how much they're using Kirk. Because there's, I talked about this during La'an's episode, but like on paper, I'm very wary of Kirk, but like the way that like he is being used here, I think it's just very effective.
And I like that they're using him on a one-on-one basis for the majority of the time that he's there. Like, yes, he interacts with everybody, but like his main focus is like one particular person. Like with the previous episode he was on, he was with Lon? Yeah, Lon. Yes, Lon. I was like, why am I blanking on her name? He was only with Lon, and like he got to bond and get to know her and then forget all about it. But he got to do that. That was the majority of the episode. And this episode, he's that person that's advocating for her. He's saying, I believe her. I think she's seeing something that's not really there. We need to investigate this. And he's the one that's like, let me see your medical chart, and I'm going to send it to the other medical people on the other, ship and see if they have anything going on. Like it shows him as a very kind person, and you can see, okay, yes, he's ambitious. Yes, he can be cocky, which is what we get from Sam all the time. Like Sam's like, oh, he's too ambitious. He's too cocky. He's annoying. But then we get to see, okay, but that translates well into being a team player and being there for the team. And you're like, oh, I can see why he ends up becoming captain of the Enterprise. Like you can see that trajectory happening. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, yeah. And I continue to really like Paul Wesley's performance. Like he's right. He seems to have a singular understanding of the character. He's not quite doing Shatner. He's not quite doing Pine. It feels entirely his own, and that he's found his own take on Kirk.
Yeah, and this is gonna sound ridiculous, but like there was this moment where he was like talking to Sam about how he has beat their dad's record for like youngest something or other for something, whatever, I don't remember the specifics, and he's talking about how he's like, well, you have to make your own path, blah blah blah, all this stuff, and he's like sort of chastising Sam, and it honestly, I like for a moment saw Stefan Salvatore, and I'm just like, that's incorrect. But like, because he embodies a similar way of speaking to a brother in that sense, and I'm like, Paul Wesley's really good at honing in on a brotherly bond that's not quite amicable.
Right, yeah.
He's really good at it, and I'm like, that's a good thing to have, especially because the Kirk brothers don't get along.
Yeah,
they're at odds with each other. But I did like seeing them come together in the only way they knew how, which was through this mysterious case. Like he was like, okay, I'm not smart enough about science, let me go talk to Sam. Like he understood. Again, this goes back to, he's a team player. He knows how to help the team. He knows when to say, I am not good enough for this, I need someone else to do it. And so he goes to Sam. And even though it probably pained him on the inside to be like, Sam, you are better than me at this, he had to go to Sam, which was an interesting little moment of understanding between the two of them.
Right. And it's also just like it's a fun juxtaposition given like where that ends in the original series with like, I think if I'm remembering this right, Kirk just like finds Sam dead in a like station somewhere.
Honestly, I don't really remember. Like it's been a while.
Yeah.
But sure, that sounds about right. I am one of those fangirlies that someone posted this on Twitter. They posted a gif of Uhura standing in the background, smiling giddily as Spock and Kirk shook hands for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, and this person was like, Uhura is going to be like, I brought them together. I'm the one that made this partnership happen. And I'm like, oh yeah, that bitch is going to like own that for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be like, oh, you need something from me? Well, I need something from you. And I did this for you. So,
Yeah.
she's going to use it to her advantage. But like, it's just a cute little moment though, because she's like really excited and happy to see Spock interacting with someone else in a positive way, because as we all know, Spock is not the easiest person to bond with anybody.
Yeah.
I will say this show is giving me a new appreciation of Spock, because I haven't always been the biggest Spock fan, and I think this show has really like turned it on my head, turned myself on my head and been like, this character's actually pretty fun. Give him a chance.
Right.
His logic comes in handy on occasion.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the best episodes this season.
Yep. Yeah. I'm very excited for next episode because it's the Lower Decks crossover.
That'll be interesting for
very
sure.
Excited for that.
That'll definitely be really interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. To bring fully animated characters to life.
Yes.
So I just want Mariner to have a fun talk with Ortegas, because I think that would be great.
Yes.
I want
that would be
so badly.
So much fun. So much fun. Well, it's kind of, like, makes me think of where Supernatural did the opposite, where they went fully animated for an episode for Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fun when shows do that, because you're like, those are two totally different mediums. Let's see if it can work.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, sure will. So let's close out this episode with our last show. I'm going to check back in with The Bear Season 2 on
Did you finally watch it?
I did watch it. And boy, was it a lot.
It was a lot.
So the Christmas episode was not as stressful as the Mobile Order episode from last season, but it still made me want to crawl out of my skin and die.
Yeah, I think I had said this on the last episode, was that someone I know dearly said it felt like an hour and a half panic attack. Like, it just was chaotic. And it's like, don't need to experience that. I experienced it on my own. Casting was perfect for that episode. Like, so spot on for everybody. Like, it's just, you couldn't have picked a more chaotic combination of people.
Yeah. Like, I heard somebody say this, but like, if you were to like cast in your head, like, we're gonna have the Italian matriarch, you would have a whole list of actresses before you even got to Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, it's not a thought you would even have. And somehow it's brilliant.
Right. I'm curious if Jamie Lee Curtis was like a fan of season 1, and then she went to somebody and was like, I want to be on season 2. And they're like, where can we put her? And they make her the Italian mother.
It's just so good, though. Yeah, and like Bob Odenkirk is like a kind of trashy uncle. Like, yeah, it's good.
A creepy trashy uncle.
Creepy trashy
like,
uncle.
Suspicious of what's going on with you, sir.
Yeah.
Don't let your children near him. Which I never thought I'd say about Bob Odenkirk. So here we are.
Yeah, and I think it's hilarious that everyone thinks that John Mulaney is gay. Everyone was wondering if John Mulaney's gay, where like Sarah Paulson's right there, the patron saint of I'll play a gay woman.
The patron saint of lesbians. Like, all lesbians love her for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And she is flawless as usual.
Yes.
So genius.
Yeah, that whole episode just like stresses me out, because like my family isn't like this. Like, we just kind of like do the thing, and then everyone just like calmly sits and waits for it to happen. Like, there's no like There's none of this. It's very like it's a much more calm, peaceful proceeding than.
Meanwhile, my crazy Italian family. No, I'm not kidding. Like it was figuring out the seating arrangement for Christmas dinner in my family was a good 3-hour endeavor because you had to be like, okay, who cannot sit next to each other because they will start an all out war. And so like we had to be particular about where we put the very loud cousin slash uncle who would spout off about Nazis and shit. And you're just like, put him on the opposite end of my aunt who's like super liberal. And like, it was just, I was like, so this gave me anxiety because I'm like, I've lived this. Oh, you're still holding the fork? Like, no. I was like, they literally know what an Italian family is like.
Mhm.
They're like, this is an Italian Christmas dinner. Why are you cooking the 7 fishes? Nobody eats the 7 fishes. We only eat the pasta. My family to a T. My uncle would make all 7 fishes, and most of them would go in dinner boxes to the homeless because nobody would eat them. We only ate the pasta.
Yeah. No, my family, nothing like any of this. It's just.
I want to come to Christmas at your house. No, I'm just kidding. No, Christmas is a lot more chill now, unfortunately, because my grandparents passed away, and so like the family kind of scattered. But
Right.
yeah, it used to be insanity.
Yeah.
I think it's just Italians are very loud and passionate. Mm, And if you have a family that's a mix of Republicans and Democrats
Right.
and conservatives, it's very hard to navigate that at a dinner.
Right. Yeah, my family hasn't had like a true like family gathering Christmas since COVID,
hmm
and my grandmother just passed away recently, so it may never happen again.
hmm
I have no idea if I'll ever have to deal with this again for the rest of my life, but like, yeah, never anything like that.
Sorry, I am listening to you. My cat is just creating chaos in my room. I'm so sorry. She's decided this is the time I'm going to step on everything and knock it off the shelves.
Yeah, this is why my cat is outside of the closet.
But how did you like what's his name's growth?
Oh, Richie?
Richie, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like terrible with names today.
It's so fascinating to see Richie at the point he is in the 6th episode, where like he's trying to get a job with Uncle, and he's trying to like take care of his pregnant wife, and like he's trying to do like he seems like moderately responsible, and then like you kind of track the trajectory to like the beginning of the show where like his life is apparently just like falling to shit. And then just the 7th episode where like he has to like go train as a stage essentially, and like it's so wonderfully done. Like just Richie realizing that like he can actually do shit. Like he's actually good at things.
Yeah, like it's not even, and sometimes with character growth, especially on shows that only get a limited number of episodes, you tend to find yourself like the character growth happens in one episode and it's just like that's a little too fast. But like the 7th episode is him like getting that aha moment of, oh, there is something in the kitchen that I can do.
Yeah.
To him then slowly implementing that in his job at the Bear. And so like it's very fun to watch. It's very well written and the acting nails it like
Right, yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah, just him being like, I wear suits now, and then like talking to Sugar at the interview and being like, we're not hiring her because she fucked that up and she should know better, you know?
Yeah. Like it's just like putting on a suit made him more confident and made him a totally different person. And it's interesting to see him be able to pull away from Carmi and not have to use Carmi as a crutch anymore.
Yeah.
Especially in that final episode, Carmi's locked in the walk-in, so like he can't help him even if he wanted to. It's just like that was the perfect way to set it up to show him that he's moved beyond needing a crutch from someone more confident.
Right.
he's like, "Oh, we have 6 minutes." He's like, "Put it on the clock. We're gonna do this."
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, and then somehow miracles happened in 6 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. But yeah. Like Richie's entire character arc throughout like those like back 4 episodes, like it's just so good. Like it's really well done. Even Ross Baccarat has really good footing throughout all of this. Like impressively good footing.
and I'm so glad he got nominated for awards because I'm like, you deserve it for your performance in 4 episodes alone. Like you did good in the other episodes, but these 4 really sold me on your character, and I ended up loving your character by the end, which was something that I was just like shocked at. Like I was like, I did not think I would say Richie's one of my favorite characters.
Right, yeah.
You don't go into it thinking Richie. It's funny to see him really become confident while Carmi falls apart. Like that's the really interesting thing too, is that Carmi starts to fall apart, and it's like that's interesting. Like I liked
it's
that.
Not even just like it's
flip.
not even just Carmi, but like Sydney too. Of like the people that should be extremely competent and confident at this are the ones that are like falling apart at the seams, and Richie's the one that like has to pull everything together. So like even if the restaurant is successful after this point, like Carmi and Sydney are still the ones that are like still have to like figure themselves out. Because like this is like the classic TV problem. Like it's a problem I always heard people talk about with like Silicon Valley, where like they would invent the thing and then they couldn't get too much success from the thing because they still needed to be at like square one. And this is like you have the decision on like the TV side, on the TV level of like you have the restaurant, do you let it be successful because your characters still need to be at this base level, and if you let the restaurant be successful and you let the characters be successful, where is the dramatic tension of that? Where's the growth? Where's the character arc? And the character arc is still Carmi and Sydney still can't get shit done because they're dysfunctional people, and Carmi especially, like not fixing the walk-in freezer, like things that he should have done and just didn't.
And as much as I love Jeremy Allen White, because I do, he's a great actor, I've noticed a trend with a lot of his characters is that they're the type of characters that they reach a certain point and it's like their head hits that ceiling and they're like, nope, I got to slide all the way back down because I can't handle being at the top. And I feel like Carmi is very much that as well. Like he's like, oh, I'm actually starting to see my dream come to fruition. I'm getting this restaurant put together. Things are working out. I have to do something to fuck it up. And I don't think he intentionally does it. I think he subconsciously does it. Especially with like the case of the walk-in freezer, like he could have gotten that fixed. He saw the notification on his phone. He saw the note. He was like, oh, I need to do that, and he just didn't do it. Like, so I think it's interesting to see that happen, and it would be really interesting to see if they do get like say another season for this show, like if he's going to be able to build upon himself to be better at not doing that, at not falling apart. And Sydney's is definitely a confidence issue. She's got the talent. She just doesn't have the confidence that she's good at anything.
Yeah, like there's a running theme almost that like the restaurant business is inherently traumatic, So like Carmi can't get outside of like his experience at the restaurant with like Joel McHale, or like and Sydney can't get away from like the one, like everything that happened with her catering, and then everything on the day with the mobile orders that just fucked everything up. And so like these two things that just like kind of haunt them and like won't let them break away into allowing them to be successful.
And honestly, that makes them more human. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it's still compelling television because you're like, oh, I know that feeling. It's not restaurant level, like, or restaurant centered, but like I have those thoughts, I have those insecurities, I have those fears. Like, it's a very human quality, and the best storytelling is ones that can take you out of the story without taking you out of the story.
Right.
And I think this show does a phenomenal job of doing that.
Yep. Yep.
Pay your writers.
Pay your writers. Yep. Yep.
Oh, pay your writers.
Yeah. But also, like, the final thing with, like, Carmy just, like, nuking his relationship with Claire from orbit accidentally. It's fucking stupid. Like, it's stupid. Like, there's no reason for her to have gone back there. I like Claire in general. Even though, like, as like a lot of people have accused her, she's kind of the manic pixie dream girl type of the no one talks, no human alive talks like this. Like, there's a certain element. I don't agree completely with, like, the reason some people don't like Claire. I like her well enough, but, like, there's no reason for her to have gone back into the kitchen to check on him in the freezer. It's stupid.
It's so dumb.
Like, it's dumb.
And, like, and her getting annoyed that he's not checking on her. I'm like, he's running this fucking restaurant. Like, you can't say you understand his life and then be that person that's like, oh, well, he hasn't come to see me yet and I'm out here eating. And I'm like, bitch, he's cooking. Technically he's in the freezer, but bitch, he's cooking. He's running that restaurant. Like, he can't stop and go visit you. Like,
yeah, like, you work in a hospital. Like,
right, you can't stop sewing someone up because your boyfriend shows up. Like, you just can't.
Yeah.
I'm just like, come on. So it's like, I think the writers are really great with creating these characters, but I feel like they didn't know what to do with Claire. And so they were kind of like, we'll just do the stereotypical stuff that make girlfriends annoying and, like, make it easier for us to believe them breaking up or, like, falling out of favor with each other. You know, it's like, I was like, okay, I expected a little more out of this.
Right. Yeah.
I don't ship Carmy and Sydney. I know a lot of people do. I don't ship that. I think it's more of a good friendship,
right,
a good partnership, and those are good, quote unquote, non-romantic relationships too. Like, it's good to have those as well. Like, not every guy and girl have to be together because they have chemistry. Like, you can have chemistry as friends. And I think that's really what Sydney needs. She needs an older brother type person in her life to be like, you're kind of getting out of your head, calm down. And that's what Carmy does. He's like, she, like, freaks out because something's not right with the flavor. He's like, all right, take a breath. Let's figure this out. You know, so, like, they need each other. I wish they would have stopped missing each other this season. Like, that's the only thing about season 2 is, like, I felt like they needed each other and they couldn't quite connect.
Yeah.
Which just became chaos in the final episode. And Richie's like, my moment. Oh, and poor Marcus.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just, that kid, he tries to get ahead and he tries to be the best son, and one of them's going to end up falling down, and in the finale it kind of does.
Yeah.
And that, you know what that call is. Like, you know what that call is that he missed. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like what you were saying, like, there's been so much discourse around, like, shipping with this show, and, like, we need to be able to say that, like, I don't ship Carmy and Sydney without impugning shipping as a whole. Like, shipping is a completely fine, normal thing to do when you're watching TV or, you know, reading a book or doing anything, really. These are totally fine things to do. I don't ship them. That should be okay to say without, like, throwing out the baby
being
with the
murdered or throwing a match on someone else's flame. Yeah. I remember the days of fandom where people were like, I love these characters and these characters together, and then someone else be like, I like these two, and we disagree, but we don't, like, try to kill each other over it.
Right.
And I feel like Twitter has become the mitigating factor with this. There's no nuance on Twitter, and so, like, someone says something that you don't agree with and it's like, you must die, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
We can't all like the same things, and you can't convince someone else to like the thing that you like if they don't like it.
Yeah. But, like, they to me just don't have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just
No.
They're very like the way I choose to look at it is like platonic soulmates, and it's like but it's not romantic or sexual. I don't think.
Mm-mm. No, it would honestly, if I'm being dead honest, I feel like Sydney and Marcus have more romantic chemistry than Sydney and Carmi.
Right, yes.
Like they have all those cute little moments where you're like, is she gonna like get closer to him? Is he gonna kiss her? Like there's clearly that I want that to happen with Marcus and Sydney. And then you get Carmi and Sydney in a room together and it's like, oh yeah, those guys are besties.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Exactly. Glad you're not a Carmi shipper. I'm just Oh, thank God we don't have to stop being friends. Oh no. I will say I had a relationship end over a shipping related thing. Listen, to be fair, the other person in the relationship was not as mature as I am. And that's not just me saying, oh, I have no faults in the situation. It was oh no, I truly did everything I could. And this person just was not at the right life stage as me. And it's just like, and it was very obvious because I did not see shipping on a show that they see shipping on. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. That's just how the cookie crumbles. Like, I just,
Yep.
you know, but anyways, do not let shipping ruin friendships and relationships, people. Just love who you love and love what you love and just let other people enjoy their shit.
Yeah.
It's basically what it comes down to. As my mom used to say, don't yuck someone else's yum.
Right. Yep. So that is it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Harley Quinn and Good Omens, right?
Good Omens.
Good Omens, yes.
Yes. So excited to have my angel and demon back.
Yes. So, until next episode, where can we find you online?
So I am on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all under Dorothy NYC89. I just started to remember I have a TikTok again, so I've been posting a little more recently. But yeah, mostly you can definitely find me on Twitter spouting off my opinions. So that's it.
Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter at the Drew Koenig, and I'm also on TikTok at Drew_Koenig. Don't use it, but you can do whatever you want to do with that. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. And also Substack, substack.drewkoenig.com with the newsletters that I'm also not currently doing, but I plan to one day. I plan to get back into that.
We all have dreams.
We all have dreams. Most of them unfulfilled. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Not Another TV Podcast. No, Not Another TV Pod. And TikTok at Not Another TV Podcast. And you can email us at notanothertvpodcast@gmail.com. Any thoughts, comments, questions, listener questions, show submissions, goat picks, whatever you got. And you can find more of our episodes on iTunes, YouTube, and all of your podcatching places. Until next week, please remember, the ocean's none of your goddamn business. Stay away from it. Thank you.
Put that thing back where it came from.